Only I stood beside my husband's coffin that morning. No children, no grandchildren, just me. One old woman against a restless wind that whistled through the churchyard, as if even the sky couldn't bear to stay. The funeral man kept glancing at the empty pews, then at me. "Would you like us to wait a few more minutes, Mrs. Bennet?" he asked softly. I shook my head. "No, Hank, go ahead. Samuel never liked being late for anything, and that was true. Even in his final months, he'd take his pills on the dot, watch the evening news right at 6, and set his slippers side by side before bed. Routine was his quiet religion. Now the man of order lay there alone. I sat in the front row, 5 chairs lined up, and every one of them empty except mine. The pastor's voice wavered through the cold air, reading verses that sounded more like habit than heart. The flowers were too perfect. The coffin too shiny. Samuel would have chuckled at the fuss, then looked around and asked, "Where are those kids of ours?" Where were they? That morning, my son Jacob had texted me just 3 words. "Sorry, Mom, can't make it." No reason. No call. Nothing. I pictured him on the golf course, shaking hands and pretending his father's death was just another line in a busy schedule. And my daughter, Caroline? She hadn't even bothered to text. She'd left a voicemail 2 days earlier, light and breezy as spring. "Mom, I can't move my nail appointment again. You know how anxious that makes me. Tell Dad I'll visit next week. As if the dead had patience. After the service, I followed the pallbearers down the path. My tears didn't fall, not because I wasn't grieving, but because my sorrow had already sunk too deep. There's a kind of hurt that turns to stone inside you, and that's what sat in my chest. The cemetery was nearly empty. An old groundskeeper watched from a distance, hand on his shovel, hat pulled low. The prayers were whispered. The casket lowered. Dust met wood. Then came silence. When the others left, I stayed. My shoes sank slightly into the damp ground. The wind tugged at my coat. For now, there was just a small bronze plaque. Samuel Bennet, beloved husband, father. Forgotten. That last word echoed in my mind like a bell that wouldn't stop ringing. When I got home, the quiet roared. His recliner sat untouched. His slippers still side by side. The TV remote exactly where he left it. I stared at them all, then opened a bottle of red wine, the good kind I usually saved for guests who never came. I poured a glass and, for reasons I can't explain, opened my phone. Caroline's profile popped up first. A new photo posted 2 hours before the service. She and her friends smiling over mimosas. The caption, "Brunch with my girls. Bottomless joy." Jacob's post came next, him posing on the 9th hole, writing about deals made, perfect swing, perfect weather. I turned off the phone, took another sip, then looked up at the framed picture on the wall. Samuel and me on our 40th anniversary, standing beside the roses he'd planted. They used to bloom deep red. Now they were bare. Tomorrow, I thought, I'll call the lawyer. I'll make changes quietly, the same way Samuel lived, with dignity. If I was the only one who came to say goodbye, then I'd be the only one to carry his final wishes through. The will of a woman's heart. Morning light crept through the kitchen blinds, thin and gold. By 8 o'clock, I was sitting across from Mr. Thomas Reed, our family lawyer for nearly 30 years. His office smelled of old books and lemon polish. He looked up kindly. "Eleanor, what can I do for you?" "I need to change my will," I said. "Take Jacob and Caroline out entirely." He paused, pen hovering. "Are you sure?" "I buried my husband alone, Tom. Not a call, not a flower from either of them." He nodded slowly. Then we'll make it official. We spent an hour going through every clause. The house, the cabin, the accounts. When he asked who I wanted to leave it to, I said, "My grandson, Adam, Caroline's boy." Tom smiled gently. "He's a good young man." "He's the only one who visits just to visit," I said. "He mows the lawn, brings me books, never asks for anything." "Then he's earned it," Tom said. When it was all done, he leaned back in his chair. "You know, most folks your age try to keep the peace." "I've kept the peace for 80 years, I said quietly. "And it nearly buried me before Samuel ever did." He didn't argue. He just slid the papers toward me and let me sign. That evening, I went through the old filing cabinet Samuel had labeled so neatly: house, taxes, family, and the last drawer, Eleanor. I opened it and found decades of giving. Checks written. Loans forgiven. Crises covered without question. Jacob's startup. Caroline's wedding. Hospital bills. Roof repairs. Braces. Vacations. Page after page, I saw the story I'd been too tired to name. I had raised two people who learned how to take and forgot how to show up. I closed the drawer. My heart was heavy, but not with sadness this time. It was with truth. Inside one old envelope, I found a folded note in a child's handwriting. "Grandma Ellie, thank you for teaching me to make pancakes. You're wise and funny. When I'm big, I'll take care of you like you take care of me." Adam had written that when he was 11. I held it to my chest and whispered, "Maybe fairness isn't giving everyone the same thing. Maybe fairness is giving to the one who remembers love." Samuel once said, "Legacy isn't what you leave. It's who you leave it to." Now I understood the echoes of absence. The phone rang the next afternoon. "Grandma?" a voice said softly. It was Adam. "I just found out about Grandpa. Mom never told me. I'm so sorry." He came an hour later, taller than I remembered, shoulders slouched, eyes kind. He hugged me with both arms like someone afraid to let go. We sat in the living room, me with tea, him with lemonade. "I missed his funeral," he said. "I'll never forgive myself." "You didn't choose to miss it," I said. "Your mother did." He looked down. "She said you didn't want anyone there," I sighed. "She lied." After a while he asked, "Can I do something?" "For you, for him?" "You already are," I said. "You came back." I handed him the envelope with my new will. He read the first lines, eyes widening. "Grandma, this is everything. Why me?" "Because you came without being asked." He swallowed hard. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," I said. "Just remember what love looks like when it's real." Before he left, he smiled. "Can I come next weekend?" "Maybe make pancakes again," I nodded. "And this time we'll use the good syrup." Caroline came the next morning, her car pulling in like a storm. She didn't knock. She never did. "Mom," she said sharply, "is it true you changed the will?" "It is," I said, folding laundry. "To exclude me and Jacob?" "Yes," she laughed bitterly. "You're punishing us." "No," I said. "I'm freeing myself." Her tone hardened. "He's just a kid." "He's kind," I said. "That's enough." When she left, she said, "I hope this makes you feel powerful." "No," I said. "It makes me feel peaceful." The day after, Jacob came, his wife Laura trailing behind, all perfume and pearls. "Mom," he said quietly, "can we talk?" He started with excuses, apologies that sounded like paperwork. I interrupted him. You missed your father's funeral for a dinner, didn't you? Laura straightened. It was an important deal. I looked between them. He built that home with his bare hands, and you couldn't spare 2 hours to say goodbye. Jacob shifted, his voice trembling. I thought you believed in forgiveness. I do, I said softly. But forgiveness doesn't mean access. They left soon after, quieter than they came. When the door shut, I felt my hands tremble. Not from regret, from release. Outside, the roses were almost bare. Samuel used to say, they'll bloom again, and I believed him. They always did, just not for everyone. The bloom of peace days passed, and peace began to take root. A letter arrived from Tom Reed's office. The trust is active. Adam Bennett, sole beneficiary. No celebration, no regret. Just calm. Outside, the roses had bowed to winter. Their stillness looked like surrender, but it wasn't defeat. It was grace. That afternoon, I brought out my old sewing machine, the one that had slept for years. I made bright blue curtains, uneven stitches, but full of life. By the time I hung them, the kitchen glowed warm again. The next morning, Adam came by with groceries. Thought you might need something fresh, he said. Well, I smiled. I was just about to make pancakes. He laughed. You mean the Grandma Bennett way? The only way, I teased. We cooked side by side, laughing at his clumsy flips. He said, I think this house could be more than a house. Maybe a place for people who need somewhere to belong. I felt tears sting my eyes. Your grandfather would have liked that. He nodded. Then I'll start with the porch. It leans. So does everyone in this family, I said. And we both laughed. When he left, I stood by the window, the new curtains swaying in the breeze. For the first time since the funeral, the house didn't feel hollow. It felt alive. A few weeks later, the first snow came, soft as powdered sugar. I stood on the porch in Samuel's old cardigan, watching Adam measure wood, his breath fogging the air. It had been a month since I'd signed the papers. The world didn't change, but I had. I no longer carried the weight of waiting for love that wouldn't come. That night I wrote a letter to myself. You did your best. You gave too much and learned too late, but you learned. Peace doesn't come from being needed. It comes from being true. You are not cruel. You are clear, and that finally is enough. I placed it beside Samuel's old note, the one he'd written long ago. Keep dancing, even if it's just in the kitchen. So I did. I turned on the record player, let an old tune hum through the house, and danced barefoot on the wooden floor. My knees complained, my back argued, but my heart, oh my heart, was 20 again. For once, no one was watching. No one needed saving, just me. And peace. When the song ended, I stepped outside, the stars sharp above me. I whispered into the cold, "You'd be proud, Sam." Not because I was strong, but because I finally chose peace. The wind brushed against my cheek, soft as an answer, and for the first time in my long life, I felt free. Moral of the story: peace isn't something you wait for. It's something you claim. Love that asks for nothing in return is the kind that lasts. And sometimes choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred.